Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of GDWC Talks. My name is Matthias, and we present you today this stream together with Oulu Kaupunginkirjasto, the library of Oulu. And you can follow this episode on their YouTube channel as well. For those who don't know what GDWC is, GDWC stands for Game Development World Championship, and it's the world's biggest indie game competition where games are competed with each other by different game developers from all over the world. And this is a yearly event, and there are also a lot of different categories that you can win in. GDWC is also a gift that keeps on giving because we have started actually to do live streaming gameplays in the GDWC Plays. And also now we have this talk show called GDWC Talks, where we from time to time will interview people who are working within the game industry. But that's enough about us. So today we have three indie developers here with different backgrounds, and and they will talk a little bit about what they're doing. And towards the end of the show, they will also participate in a question and answers section that you have submitted to us before in ask.thegdwc.com. Also, you can feel free to ask questions in the chat as well. So today we are having Brendan Roarty with us.
Hello.
Hello. A freelance game developer and artist from USA. It's probably more like good morning. But yeah. We also have Jeppe Kilberg Møller from Denmark, CEO at AR Blocks. Welcome. And also Riste Tutureski, the founder and CEO at Intetic from Macedonia.
Hi, Matthias. Hi, everyone.
Hello. All right. So let's get this show on the road, and we start with you, Brendan. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. I'll get mine. All right. So hello, I'm Brendan Roarty. I'm an independent game developer and artist, and I'm here for the GDWC talks. So here's a bit about me. I'm 22 years old, currently in my last year at College for Creative Studies in Detroit, Michigan, in the United States, and I'm working towards my college degree. It's a degree in entertainment arts with a specification in game art. So I enjoy drawing, coding, 3D modeling, music production, and reading in my free time. And you can see that a lot of those things sort of funnel into game development. Here's a bit more about me. I'm self-taught in most of the areas described as my hobbies. So that would include coding, 2D art, music production, game development, and game design. For schooling, it was mostly drawing and 3D modeling that I've really honed at university. So those things I can attribute greatly to my university experience. So what about games what about making games is special to me? I think games are a super personal thing that can, connect all of the things I like to do. So for me, it's really just about getting to explore all of my different hobbies in one centralized project and then sort of using that to realize something as a whole. And I really enjoy each part of the process. And I think another good thing about it is just getting to play with other people. When you make a game, it's really cool to see people playing it. So a short timeline of my relationship with making games is the timeline itself would be 7 years long. So I've been making games since freshman year of high school, roughly. almost 8 years. And then I've been serious about producing and releasing games on my own for 2 years. The first year of which was more of honing my skills, and the second, I released my first commercial release. So, and the last point here is game jams. I really enjoy game jams. And I think if you don't know what a game jam is, it's a short, usually day to a week long period in which you're given a prompt and you have to make a game within that time period. So it's just a challenge to yourself or to a team of small people that you join to make a game based on a prompt and really sort of go wild and flesh out something interesting since the deadline is so short. So this is the game I entered into the GDWC. It's called Bunny Hill. It's a local multiplayer, fast-paced skiing game, and there are 8 unique characters, generated race layouts, multiple courses, and a cool soundtrack by an artist named Guppy. So it was my first commercial release on Steam, and it was developed over the course of 8 months, starting in April 2020. And I really got to delve into the business side of development because I had been making so many projects, but not really releasing them super formally, mostly just on itch.io. And so I got something more in the public commercial realm on Steam, and that was a new process to me. I collaborated with other passionate people in different fields too, so it was really good to collaborate with a musician and sort of come together to realize a project. It was really cool to see what someone else could bring to the game I made and just to get a different perspective on the whole creation process. So here's a brief overview of making games for me. I believe that making games should be personal, independent, and idealistic. And I say idealistic because there are a lot of realistic challenges that you have to be aware of, but when you have to maintain passion and really keep grinding when it comes to your personal goals, it's I think it's more important to look at the positive and more sort of the idealistic view of it. So, you know, when you make a game, it should be something personal to you. It should be moving to you. It should be something that you want to make. And I say independent personally because I like to do each step of the process. So there are plenty of resources to use. I think if you're getting into game development, there are plenty of resources online to use and plenty of people willing to help, tons of great communities. And there are also plenty of roles to fill. So if you're looking to get into game development, you could be, you could do music for game development or gameplay coding for game development or art for game development. So there's a ton of different sort of paths you can take. And as you sort of tackle each step, if you want to do it all, you'll gain a much bigger understanding. So my advice is just go for it. You just want to jump in and get started where you want to. And I think a lot of the nuance that comes with the business side and making games consistently, faster paced, just on a regular schedule, all of that comes with time. So definitely if you're a total beginner and you want to get into it, just go for it. Find resources on what you want to make, whether that's a 2D platformer or 3D platformer, or any other kind of game, and just run with it and have fun. So here's the more realistic side. There are a lot of challenges making games, including the technical and the artistic and the business challenges. So technical challenges would be, I would describe more as coding and sort of almost book knowledge when it comes to making a game. There are things that are more optimal. There are things that are better practices when it comes to making games. And I think there are plenty of resources for those online, and it's something that you'll get a better understanding of as a whole as you progress either way. The artistic challenges are, I think, never ending, and you always want to discard projects and work on the next one. It's good to finish things, and it's good to, I think, finish things for what they are. So a small game like Bunny Hill had a limited scope, and I developed it over the course of 8 months. That for me was a very directed project where I really said, I'm going to make a game in like 6 to 8 months and really push just to finish something and release it commercially. And I'm proud of it, even though there are things that could be improved. So, and then there's the business challenges. And those would be just marketing, doing all the tax information, getting it on the platform, figuring out all the uploading process. All of that is a whole nother world of problems to solve. And I think if you want to get into game development, you want to like to solve problems, because there are a lot of problems along the way to solve, and they're quite fun, sometimes frustrating. And then right here I have challenges making money making games, and I put industry versus indie work. So this for me is, in my personal experience, something I could speak on, is just the contrast between working for a company in the industry and working independently on development. In the industry, there's a lot of structure and a lot of security that comes with that, and it's very competitive to get into. And this is why, for me, I'm going to school for game art, so I think that would be my role in the industry. But as an independent developer, I would much rather do every part of the process. So I can sort of marry those two things and do a bit of both. So I can have a job in the industry and hopefully continue to make independent work on the side. And you know, the independent work doesn't have the pressure to pay the bills, where I can pay the bills with the industry work. But I think eventually, I think it's a lot of people's dream to just go fully independent and work on their own games. And I think that's a goal for me as well. So, and I think that will come with time as well. It's just working in the industry, getting a better sense. And if you're trying to start out making games, like the numbers aren't going to be super glamorous, and it is a tough challenge, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. And so here are just some insights overall. Anyone can start anytime. There are plenty of good resources to use. Have fun with it. Just work on what you like and be motivated and confident in the process. And higher education for me personally is really worth it for the environment and the people. So from my experience, I think anyone interested in making games should jump right in. I think self-publishing a game is a lot easier than you think. It is a challenge, but it's a lot less daunting if you take it step by step, just like with every other part of the process, whether it's learning to code, learning to make music, learning to make art. It's all possible. And if you want to go for it, just be motivated and confident in yourself. So here are my plans for the future. Finishing my last semester at College for Creative Studies and finding a job. So I'm just another person, one step of the way through the process. So finding a job is my next move. And these are just some other projects that I've worked on in the past, just to show you a range of things that I've done for fun or for game jams. And thank you. I'd like to say thank you to GDWC again for having me at the event. And here are my links. If anyone in the audience would like to contact me, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. That's really nice to see some young faces in the industry and to hear from them. We will continue now with our second guest today, and that is Jeppe Kilberg Møller from Denmark and AR Blocks. The word is...
Hello. I'll see if I can share my screen. Should be able to. Cool. Cool. And yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Jeppe. I'm the co-founder and director of AR Blocks. So I was supposed to talk a lot about AR games. I will talk about AR games, but I'll actually focus a bit more on my journey to how I got into the games industry, and why the GDWC I continue to make games. Because I've worked in the industry for like 14 years by now, and I still stick around. But the short story about AR Block, I founded the company together with my partner Uffe in 2018, where we focused on AR technology. Big surprise there. I think you got it by looking at the company name. And we got quite some good attention, both with some local funding, like a nomination for the Tencent GWB awards, the Big Indie Pitch, Accelerates and Indie Booster, which is like local Danish funding. But basically right now we are like at the self-proclaimed any stage, which means we always need investment. So we sort of, that sort of life of the startup, like, okay, finding your way and like continuing to move forward and finding the way to move forward. And that's sort of the topic going forward here. So right now we have 2 projects. The one is like a technical platform where we work with multiplayer augmented reality. That means with each your phone, you'll be able to like play together physically, and that's sort of like put like a total new extra layer upon the world, where we get some really positive user feedback. And the other part of it is a more traditional game called The Door, which is like a story puzzle game. But we'll get more into that first, going a bit backwards in time. Because, yeah, how did I get into the industry? It wasn't like in the cards, I think you call it, because my father, he had minks, and perhaps you heard that in Denmark we just had to like end the mink industry more or less permanently. All were killed during this coronavirus. But I was born on and raised on a farm where we had minks, and my mother worked with elderly people. I worked as a garbage man after high school. And if you look at the image, like that window, that would be me for like, I don't know, 35 years ago, looking out the window, that would be small me. Yeah, but basically my childhood was like, I think, many kids in the 80s. I had a sandbox, I had my teddies, I had my cars. But my parents quite early like bought a computer for me and my brother. That's the lower left corner. That's a wonderful screen dump from one of my favorite games. That was a baseball game, as you can see, with the green turf and people running around after a square baseball on the Philips G7000. Later on, I moved on to the Commodore 64. One of my favorite games there in the middle was Bruce Lee. Great game. You could actually play it multiplayer. Later on, I moved to the Amiga, and that's a screen dump from Pirate, which is a great game. But in the 19th, I sort of started consuming media big time. Perhaps it was because I lived in the countryside, and like, what would you do when you come home from school? Listen to music, play a lot of games, read a lot of comics, watch all the movies you would get your hands on. Of course, play a lot of RPG. Born and raised on Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition. We played like hours and hours of that. But yeah, time came. I went to high school, and after being a garbage man for a short while, I sort of had to find out what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do something with people. And whatever that meant, I took an education to become a teacher, and that's like the picture to the left. That was not the best decision I ever made, because actually, like, I could feel like all the time I sort of spent on media, it just took too much of my attention. And even when I started to become a teacher, every media class or anything I could do, I just took it. So by accident, I actually found out, hey, I can study games. So I built on top of that. I went to the IT University of Copenhagen, which had a games line. I think it's more common now. It wasn't that common around 15 years ago. But it was like, hey, I love media, I want to do that. So that was a quite fun decision. And while writing my thesis, I started working in my first company. That was for a company called Zeitgeist. They were working on urban mysteries, later renamed to Recoil Retrograd. It was a time-traveling game and third-person shooter. Where you would change the world by traveling time. Like very, very grand vision and very cool project, which in the financial crisis didn't do so well. I moved on to working with Tween games. Of all the things, you would rate this small little green thing called a copy. And also for a short time worked with sci-fi, what's called strategic game. That was like my first 3 jobs, but they all went like this. It was like bankrupt. Okay, I move on to the next one, which was Pollock's Game Labs, where we made Lost Empire. But actually, I never got my first paycheck because somebody forgot to pay the taxes, so the company closed down. And the next company as well, that was bankrupt. So I was like, what should I do? Because all in while this happened, I got a small kid. I had to bring in some food for the family, right? So I'm sort of, hey, this is fine. Working in the games industry, it's like being bankrupt, it's like uncertainty all the way. Of course, I had to take a new job in the games industry, but I was so lucky to move on to more like established companies as Movie Star Planet, who has 250 million users the last time I heard, worldwide, and Kilberg, who's partially behind Subway Surfers. I even got the chance to work on a Cristiano Ronaldo game at a company called Hugo Games, so that was quite fun. I'm not into football, but making a Cristiano Ronaldo game, I thought that was quite cool. And along the side, I established my own company actually to take some of the experience I had with all the bankruptcies and actually seeing some of the mistakes that were made, like see how can we take these lessons and start moving forward and help other companies to learn from the mistakes so they didn't have to make them. But after I did that for a while, I thought, okay, I need to do something new, because it was sort of either I worked for a company having to do their mistakes or helping other companies try not to do the mistakes that I learned you shouldn't do. So I felt like, okay, I should actually start doing this myself instead of just telling other people how they should do it. So we established AR Blocks, which, as mentioned, is this multiplayer platform for mobile AR games. So we do small games ourselves, but it's as much the technologies do it. We sort of put together. So you can play together on this platform, and you can actually build levels, and you can share it with the world. That means we start to have this community around. So that's one of our very cool projects. Which also is like to show some of the diversity. We both have racing games, and you have like a classic Jenga game, one of the first things we made, where you can see we have the physics in and they integrate quite well with shadows and so on in like the real world. For the racing game, you would make your own race tracks, race with friends, and then share it back to the world. But also, I think one of the things that fascinates me as a game developer, and like through all this process, is the moment working becomes like, okay, I know what's going to happen next. It becomes not so interesting to me. I don't think that's part of why we started working with AR. It's sort of what happens instead of making just traditional mobile games. What happens when we physically want users, instead of sitting, they should stand up. Instead of interacting with their thumb on their mobile, they should move the whole body. And the space is not just the mobile screen, but the surroundings. What we found out is that in practice, the user never plays in like these optimal situations. they don't just stand up. They're sitting at the toilet playing their mobile games. And the same, how would you play on a messy living room floor when it looks something like this? So basically, we sort of have this problematic as game developers. You might have a vision, you might have something you want to do so well for users, but they're like, hey, nobody got time for that. So you can come with all your best effort and try to do it so well, but it's really about understanding the users you're making something for. And that's something I find very fascinating. And that's where it sort of looks back. Then I'm actually not making games. I'm as much understanding the users that I make games for. And in that sense, I sort of found a good spot for me, because I tried to become a teacher, but because I wanted to work with people, now I work with people in another way, try to understand how they work, how to make product for them. Because basically, how can you do things more easily? How can you make games understandable? So as designers, I think it's important that you're sort of being organic. You need to unlearn a lot of things and then start learning things from the beginning again. It's not like you as a designer or game developer, I have this clear vision, it has to be like this. Well, put it in the hand of the user and they'll tell you if it works or not. So actually the door, our other project, we did some experiments in AR as well. That's sort of the base of it, or where it started. And perhaps I have to ask somebody else to start the video. Yeah, apparently my voice didn't get through. But as you perhaps got the impression of, the door is about going through these what's called impossible doors that teleport you through the environment. So instead of like moving your avatar through the world, you will teleport yourself through it towards the big thing in the sky, who's actually controlling this world. So you solve puzzles and have doors appear. We can say we made these experiments in AR, but quickly you can say our lesson. Our lesson is really about listening to the users, because people thought it was an interesting thing in AR, but we could also see there wasn't like a challenge in getting this game actually out to many users, because the new technology might be cool, but where are users? They are on their PCs, they are on their consoles, they are in their couch playing mobile games. So we actually like adjusted the concept and worked more on the game. So now we have a PC demo available, and perhaps I can get you to start a new video, like showing where we are now.
Good thing I have you. You gotta do it by logic to open these doors. And I'm just logic. I bet you can use the snowballs for something. Oh, don't worry, it's all pretty standard. Sign below. No, you wouldn't leave me. We're friends, aren't we?
Cool. So basically what we did with the game was really to learn how it worked when we had it in the hands of the users, and then adapt it to make the game work and function. And we're now looking for investment and publishing to complete the game. So we plan to have it out in 2022, that means next year. It can be wishlist on Steam, demo download on itch, and you can follow us on Twitter. But basically, I thought my conclusion in all this, and at least for my journey, it's like keep exploring to find out what both interests you, and when working with games, explore what works and what doesn't work. Sometimes there's several paths to choose from, and I think that's really one of the things that fascinates me the most about games, is really finding out and like exploring the universe and beyond. So yeah, that's it for me. You can follow me on Twitter, and this is a picture from a wonderful day. I won the race over my son, and yeah, thank you for tuning in and listening.
Thank you so very much. Yeah, that was some really over there, and also it was cool to see those some of the and myself. So yeah, we have been raised the same way. All right. We are now heading towards our last speaker for today, Riste Tutureski. Welcome, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, thank you for your invitation, and as well, thank you everything that you are doing for the gaming world, especially for the indie developers and small startup companies, because we really need something like this where we can show our games.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So for this event with GDWC, we decided to not go with the PowerPoint presentation and just to speak about the real development process that we had for our game, and share some thoughts how we found some of the issues and how we improve those issues, and as well how we make our system about getting the feedback from the audience, and with that feedback how we improve not only the game but the whole path about our company. My name is Riste Tutureski from Macedonia, and I am founder and CEO of company Intetic. Last 9 years, Intetic is focused mostly on the IT, especially web development. In 2019, we opened a little small game department where we decided to go and try to develop games. And after 1 year, in 2020, April 29, we released our first game, The Strange Story of Brian Fisher. So first of all, I want to say a few words about the game, and then I will tell more about how we started, why we started develop games, what is our vision, how when we faced with some problems, how we try to solve them, etc. So first, let me say a few words about the game. So the story is starting year 3545 BC, and there is another universe or another, let's say, constellation where we call Xela star, and there is one planet that named Xela, where it's an exotic planet with a lot of life there. And on this planet there are some people. They mostly, look like us, but they live in very ancient period. They don't have aircrafts, they don't have lasers, etc. So the nature is very nature, without any technology. And there is one place, and in our story, actually, that is the only place in the universe that have these things. So there is one place that we call Tree of Time. That's a big tree, beautiful tree, where you can, using one ball called crapseed, you can see through time, in past, in the future, and also you can actually travel through time and space as well. So the tree for us is some representation of multi-universe, multi-time, or something like that, multi-space, because each branch of the tree representing a separate space, separate time, and how the branch is going to another direction, then starting a different time. Incidentally, those people will open a portal using that ball and that tree. Will open a portal to our planet in that year, 3542 BC, and they actually incidentally will send this ball there. And let's say in present time, when actually when the main character Brian was a little baby, almost newborn, his father in a walk will find this portal opened in one cave, and Brian incidentally will touch the ball, and if you touch the crapseed, then your DNA is connecting with this ball, and then you can go and travel in that portal, that wormhole, let's say. Without that, you will die. But using that crab seed, you can travel. And anyone who, if you hold the ball and you hold someone else, also that person can travel, and that will happen with Brian and his father. They will go there, and his father, using that tree, will see that a lot of bad things will happen in future, because one unknown man will find out for this portal and this tree in the other planet, and he will use to see in future and in the past and change those to change the future, etc., and will use for bad things. And the only way to stop that is to close on time that portal. But the portal can be closed only from the person who will touch the ball, and this is the Brian. Brian is small baby, so he will need to wait when Brian have enough skills, and actually through the whole life he will train him to solve different puzzles, etc. Because when he go to close the portal, they need to solve a lot of puzzles, and because the story is big, so we are small startup gaming studio, and we are not in the position to finish this whole game. So we decided to split a little bit in multiple chapters, and we just released the first chapter of our game. And in the first chapter is happening actually in the present, when Brian is 38 years old man, and he will someone will kidnap him and will put in one old cabin in the wood, in the cage. And the main goal in this game is to find a way how to find a way to escape from that cabin. And with that said, actually, I want to say that this game have some kind of mixed genres. So the game can be counted, it's a puzzle game, escape type of game, escape from room, adventure. So we wanted to mix multiple genres, and also to mix multiple mechanics in the game. I hope that we achieve that. And of course, the story is continuing. I don't want to explore more now from the story, but the first chapter, if you play, at the end of the first chapter, actually you will see that you will travel through time, and that ball will bring you to another time, another space. And the second chapter is continuing from there, and so on. So in terms of the story, I wanted just to give you a quick introduction, just to know about this game. And now I would like to say more about our beginning, because and I want to say that on the natural way. So we didn't want it to put in the presentation to say, hey, you need to follow those things and you will be successful. So we wanted to show you the real, let's say, issues that we found, because I think now for those who want to start in the gaming development, I think one of the important things are issues that you may facing during the game development. Our start is, let's say, not natural start about developing games. So we had one story, and we didn't know what to do with this story. First, we thought that maybe we should try to find someone who will write a book for that story. Then we said, okay, maybe it's good to speak with someone in the movie industry that we have some connections, some friends. Maybe someone will be interested to in the movie industry. And at the end, we made the first mistake that everyone is making when they are starting to develop games. We said, okay, because because in TETIC 9 years is occupied in IT development, web development. So we said, okay, we are great in development, so let's start develop the game. And we thought that because we will develop on a good way, I'm more speaking from the coding perspective, from the mechanics in the background that we need to code. And we started with that. We started and we made the full game from the start to the end. For the first chapter, you are able to play the whole game, but with placeholders. So no good look and feel, no good graphics. Everything was placeholders, but it was playable game. And that is also one way when one mistake that usually we are making when want to develop the game. After that, we said, okay, so now we have a playable demo. Playable game. You can start and play from the start to the end. So then we said, okay, let's go now and put some good graphic. And at that time, when we started with the good graphics, we hired a few guys that will work on the 3D modeling, Unity environment, because we are using Unity as a platform. Then we hired some guy about the character 3D modeling, etc., and also a few other guys for voiceover, etc., etc. And at that time, when we finished the game, we are very happy. But in the beginning of our, let's say, in the first month of our changing look and feel of the game, we realized that we are making mistake. So that mistake was more about the performance of the game, because now when you need to go and play the game, you need a good configuration, good computer configuration to be able to play the game. We saw that in the first month, but our goal was let's release the game. So even we know that that is one kind of mistake, and from this point of view now, it's a very important. I will explain why. We said, okay, we know this problem, but let's go and release the game. Why? Because we wanted. For us, was more about releasing the game and get the feedback about that game. So we never thought about go release the game and make money and go release, make the next game, etc., etc. So we forgot about that. So we didn't thought about the money, about everything. About we thought only for the feedback of the audience. That will tell us where we make mistakes, because we are very young in the gaming development. We don't have experience, and the most important for us was the feedback. And because of that, I can tell that the major changes in the game we made, let's say, 2 weeks before release and 2 weeks after release. So in this, let's say, 1 month period, we made the major changes that I can say there were a lot of improvements from what we had before that. And of course, after releasing the game, our focus was more, okay, now release the game, so let's go now and try to find every single video that the players will make, every single comment that the players will put somewhere, and let's go create a good system about creating a good analysis from those feedbacks, let's say critics. And that was for us, let's say, the best thing that we made for our game, the best decision, instead of going and put more energy on the game itself from the, let's say, marketing perspective, or put energy on let's say starting immediately with the second chapter. Even that was our first thought. Our first thought was, okay, when we release the first chapter, we will start making the second. Even before release, we will start with preparation about the second chapter, etc. But everything changed when we got the feedback. So the feedback was not so bad. For example, our expectations were very low, but at the end, we are very happy that the game actually is from the feedback is more that we thought that will be. So we were very skeptic, and we had very low expectations that we will sell, I don't know, some amount of we will sell some amount of copies. But for example, now it's almost 1 year, and in very short time, I think we will back the investment that we made in the game. So for us, that is very much above our expectations. And there were one point in our, let's say, our gaming development. There was one point when everything changed. So of course we were trying to go, and we were looking on the good comments, on the good videos, but also we wanted to focus more on the let's say negative reviews or critics, etc. And everything changed when one, I don't know if I will pronounce on the good way that name. There is one, two guys actually from Hungary, that the name of the show or whatever is Otherworld, I think, and those guys actually are most focused on the AAA games. So from my understanding, they never go through some indie games, or maybe they went, but from my understanding, they are more fans of the AAA games. Somehow our game actually was played by one of those guys, and they put one negative review on Steam that for us was double win. So that was the starting point when actually for that we were waiting. that thing made us to think about the stuff that maybe previously we didn't thought about. Because our concept for our game is randomization, so when you click a new game, all items that you need to collect, they will be randomly positioned, and when also all combinations for puzzles actually will be random. All numbers that will be shown there, all letters in the puzzles, they will be randomly generated. So for every player in the world, there is a different experience where you can find those items or how to solve that puzzle. And even further, if one player wants to play again, if he press new game again, everything will be random. And our goal, our vision about our gaming company, actually we want to go in that direction. So we want to improve that randomization, even to go even further, to go with, let's say you will have, I don't know, 500 puzzles for one game, and the system will pick for you 50 puzzles, all, of course, dependent each other, and also the item will be randomized. Everything will be random, and you will have different experience. And those guys actually on that review, they said that, you know, it's a good idea, great idea, but the realization from the performance side is not good. And shortly after 1 or 2 days, also they launched some video on YouTube about, I don't know, 15 minutes maybe, about our game. And also they are provided the thoughts that they have about the game. And because we were focused more on the feedback, we hired one guy who will translate for us, because that feedback was on Hungarian. So we hired one guy, and we wanted to see what those guys said about our game. And if you look on that, you know, review, it's not good. From the performance issues that they said, actually everything is true. And that video actually was for us double win. So we said, okay, great, this is what we need. So let's go, you know, make a good analysis what was wrong with our first chapter. And we made analysis, etc. And then we sit down and said, now we need a plan how we are going to improve all those things first in our second chapter. And the other thing, other than those, you know, reviews that we saw and take some notes from there and define the next actions about our game. Also, we signed agreements, partner agreements with Xbox and PlayStation, and we got when we got the dev kits from them, we thought that, okay, now we'll put our game in dev kit, and everything will be okay. You know, from the development side, everything was okay. I'm talking about the mechanics, about the controller, and everything. Everything was fine, but from the performance issues, when you click on new game, the game instantly, you know, was going down. And we made some investigation, and we saw that the performance of our game is what is happening on the Xbox dev kit. And for that reason, we tried to analyze, to make a good analysis, and we end up that we need someone who really have experience in those things. We need really someone who have real experience, who can help us, who can guide us how to improve with our game. And for now, at this moment, we are making the second chapter, and I can say that the improvement from the first chapter is far away. So we are very better in the second chapter. And what we did, actually, we tried to find someone, and we found in our country, Macedonia, there is also one company, Kamai Media, that they have all great employees that I can say they're great experts about this job. And the founder and CEO of that company, Petr Kotevsky, in the past worked in very famous AAA games like Far Cry, Halo, and all those other famous games. And this gentleman, actually, we talked with Petr, and we decided that we should go with his company, because his company is real. They have real experts about all that we needed, especially from the 3D side. Because always when you think on which direction you should go with your gaming development, let's say you're starting now, the first thing that you need to do is to see where are you best in the game, from the gaming development, because gaming development is huge. So it's not only sit down, put some 3D objects, and after that make some movements there, and that's it. Yeah, that can be the game, but if you want to go deeper in the gaming industry, actually you need a lot of improvement. And we did that, actually. We are best in the development side, I mean, from the coding perspective, and we know that we are good, and of course, when you are starting your let's say experience with gaming development, you need to figure out where you're best, and all the other parts from the gaming development you need to find. Of course, you can go, like independent developer, you can go and learn those stuff, and that's great. But if you want to speed up the process and make better and better games, you have to cooperate with other people. And my recommendation is just to do that. So to go there, figure out where you're best, and then ask for help or collaboration from the other independent developers or startup companies who can help you. Because the other games you should not see like competition. From my understanding, you need to see like friends and potential partners, or people or companies that you can collaborate with them, and on that way you will learn new stuff. You will improve yourself. You'll improve your company if you want to have a gaming company, because our vision is about the gaming company. It's not about specific for the game. So we want to be more focused on to build a brand, a company brand that will be focused on the game development. Doesn't matter about the name of the game. And we end up with this company now that we are collaborating, and from as I said, I am seeing a lot of improvements, and my plans is also the first chapter to go and to collaborate with this company and with this gentleman Petr Kotevsky about optimizing that game, because we want also our game to go on the other platforms. We want to go on the Xbox because we already signed an agreement. PlayStation, of course, we signed an agreement. So we want to be present there. But if we want to present, we need a good optimization. So now let me just say a few words about our plans for future. As I said, now at this moment we are working on the chapter 2. In total, first we thought that we will make 7 chapters, but because the story is huge, but also from the feedback from the audience that we saw 7 chapters are too much, and we changed a little bit each chapter from 2nd to the 4th. So now we end up in total 4 chapters. So our plans is to go now and finish the 2nd chapter, and then start to go, develop the 3rd and the 4th if everything goes well. Very short. Of course, 2020 was also hard for us because the same problem that all of us have, the COVID-19. Also, us we had there a slow period where everything was slow. Even I can say we were dedicated maybe 15% to this game. But now we are on track, and very short. I hope that in a couple of weeks we will launch our demo version of the 2nd chapter, and hopefully also for near future that we will actually release our 2nd chapter. As I said, our plans are long term. So also, this is some recommendation for you. Don't look on short term. Don't look that or think that, hey, I'm going now to create a game, I will release, and I will be a rich man after that. It's totally opposite. It's you need a lot of things for gaming development. You need passion. You need a vision about where you're going. You need a plan and details how you plan to to reach that vision, and you need, as I said, to be a long term. So if you think on the long term, then step by step, if you make some checkpoints during that long term and see where you are, is your plan is going well or no, maybe you will need to change a little bit the plan, etc. So just think on the long term, and during that long term, just keep your focus on improving yourself, improving in every part of the game development. As I said, if you don't know something, go. There is a lot of resources, but also go and connect with people that are working in this industry. Connect with them, collaborate, discuss about, ask help. Maybe someone will help you. So just go and of course, first have fun, but go on the long vision. And the other part of this, especially for independent developers who now want to start, is don't forget about your primary job. So most likely you will have another job that you will doing while you're starting with the gaming development. And first, try to be that primary job. Try to be in your occupation. So if you are making games, so let's go and try to find something that is connected with the gaming, even if it's a coding or 3D modeling or whatever. Just find. And very let's say important thing there is try to not harm your primary job. Just go and engage with your primary job 100%. Everything that you are doing, do for your primary job, and learn from there. Learn about first technically, about the technical side of gaming development. Then learn about from the business side, how to run your business, your gaming development. Learn from the marketing side. Learn from everything that you can learn, and always your priority is to be your primary job. And then everything that you will learn from your primary job, go and implement in your passion, in your game, because if you work like that, of course, will be hard, because you need after work to take some time to work on your project, or most likely you will work on weekends. But if you think on the long stage, that is the right approach, because you have benefits. Your primary job will be first the source about your funding. So the money that you will take from there, you can use some of them about your project. Then from your primary, not always is the money, but from your primary job you will take experience, which is very important in all industries, not only in the gaming industry. So from there also you will take a knowledge, and you will take experience. You will take everything from from your primary job. So for that reason, your focus should be on the primary job, and then go and work on your project in your passion. And as I said, not only that, but also connecting with people from this industry is very important, because also that is investing. You will invest in your experience, actually. So in short, because of the time, that is I wanted to share. I have a lot. You can, if you want more, talks, or if you have any questions, you can contact me directly, and I will be happy to answer everything that we were experienced in the gaming industry. Till then, just focus and make plans how to start your gaming development. Thank you very much for listening this experience that we had, actually.
Thank you so very much, Riste. That was really interesting. And thank you also to the other speakers for this little bit over an hour we have had so far. Now let's go over to the questions and answers section. We were sharing a questionnaire on our webpage where people could submit questions to our speakers, and we will now ask them these questions. These questions are directed to all of you speakers out there, and feel free to answer any question you feel suited, or fill in on something, and let's keep some kind of discussion going. I'll go ahead and ask the first question. That is, I'm dying to learn. Can one person make sellable games?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm still on. Okay. Yes, that's definitely doable. I think it's very much about the scope of the game you're doing, and really keep it realistic. And I can see Brandon is nodding, so I know he should be the one that answering it. It's really about scope, keeping it tight, and dream big. That's fine, but be realistic and get things done.
Yeah, I agree with Jeppe for sure. It's about the scope, and I think if you're asking if one person could live off making games, that's a very different question and a gradual process. So you could definitely start selling games yourself, and it's going to be a process gradually of like ramping up and learning about, like you said, scope and sort of honing that.
Yeah, so also our experience is the same. Even if you're independent, as you said, when first you need to to focus on what is the best side of that game development, where you're the best. Then the other parts try to there are a lot of resources, asset stores, etc. So you can use a lot of resources from there where you're weak. And with that, at the end, you can make one good product that you can, put on some platforms like Steam or other platforms. And of course, you can, do that.
And I think one of the first things I learned or was told by a guy from the industry, it's not about making the perfect thing. It's about getting things done, because you can keep polishing and polishing and polishing to make it just the way you like it. So you have to take a pride, put it a bit aside, and just get things done, because you can get a lot of things done in short time, and just get it out there. Learn and listen, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So after that, you will have feedback, and which is very essential for the gaming industry. So based on that feedback, you can improve yourself and make the next game better and better, etc.
All right, thank you. Over to the next question. I have been creating a fantasy role-playing game as a hobby for a few years now. I am now at the point where I would need funding and a small team to develop it further. Any tips on how to get these?
Okay, so I can start, because we for the second chapter we did something from that question actually. What we try to do, we try to find someone who will help us for our game, not to help only to find someone for money and to develop our game, but we were trying to find someone who will care about our game and will tell us where we are making mistakes, where we need to improve, how to improve, etc. So I've mentioned I found a great company, Kamai Media, here in Macedonia, that they were very, let's say, great in cooperation, because we mixed everything. We mixed the funding, we mixed the experience, we mixed expectations, etc. So they were very willing to help us to get our game to the next level that we need. So we found, let's say, a partner who really helped us with everything that is mentioned in this question, starting from funding, from a team to develop the game, everything. So we found great partner where we can improve our game.
Yeah, I think if I can add, I think from my experience as well, it's definitely collaborating with people who are open to collaborate, and will help you spread your net when it comes to like who's interested. And then with the funding, at least on the independent side, like strictly independent things you could do from your home would be a lot of people use not only social media, but also like things like Kickstarter or a Patreon to get things crowdfunded. And those things can be used to limited success. I think that like definitely reaching out to industry is like a more sort of direct and like stable option when it comes to looking for funding. And like Riste was saying, like it's about looking for people who will really join you and be passionate with you. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah, you can say for funding, the first step of funding is now you did a lot of things just on your own. That's the first step. And then you have the friends, fools, and family. See if you can convince any of them for just a bit of funding, just to make sure that you have for your daily living. The stage after that would be angel investors, somebody who would believe in it, or they're doing a Kickstarter, which takes a lot of time. I'm told we sort of opted out on the Kickstarter because we just didn't have the skills or experience to make such a great campaign that would actually get us the funding. And I would definitely, since you say you've been working on it for a few years now, I was sort of, what do people think? Do people like it? I would imagine you like it or even love it, but get it out on a platform like, I don't know, Itch, to get feedback from people and try to get people's attention to it and hear what they say. Because if you want money from someone, they're going to ask you, okay, how can this sell? Do you know your game will sell? And then you should be able to say, oh, I got thousands and thousands of downloads on Itch. Everybody loves it. I even made my first sale and so on and so forth. You sort of need to prove that it's worth investing in. And that is a real challenge. So I would definitely go in and like find that out.
All right. Yeah. Let's go to the next question. This one is a little bit different. And what is your process of character design? How do you start and go forward? Can you tell what you have learned, for example?
I'll take a pass on that. I don't do character design. I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
I think for my piece, I would say there are like two ways to that I can sort of answer the question from different perspectives. I think on the visual side, purely visual character design, the thing that's most important for me when I'm designing characters is just, I would say, contrast, in a way that's in terms of shape or even ideas. You want a good balance when it comes to your contrast. So like if you have you want a good ratio of small shapes and big shapes and medium shapes, things like that visually really push it a long way. So I think just those areas create interest. And if you have, a big character, you see it all the time, you have a big character and a small character, and those things are at odds, or even like Mario and Bowser or something like that, right? So I think there are ways to do it visually. And then the other angle I would say would be narrative. So from designing a character based on the story, I think I have less experience to speak on this, maybe as opposed to Riste, but there's definitely, you definitely want to keep, I think, in my opinion, I would say that keep narrative, you want it to be clear to the player, but you want to leave enough things sort of mysterious so that it's not just telling the player who the character is. You want the player to sort of feel the character. And in those sort of ways, you can like litter it through the gameplay in different visual ways or different other narrative pieces that allude to things. But that's all sort of complicated. But yeah, definitely that would be my overarching advice.
Yeah, so I agree that character design is also a big part of the game, because it's not only character design from the 3D modeling, but to design a character from the to put somehow that character in that story, from the storytelling, from the mechanics, what he can do, what he can not do, etc. So also for us was very challenge job, because first we were as I said, we were best in the coding stuff, but not from the from the storytelling or from the look and feel, from the 3D modeling. So for that reason, we worked with one guy about the 3D modeling who created for us that character. And after that, based on that character, we were trying to find a way how now we need to connect the visual with the story and with the mechanics as well. So 3 aspects of the character design. I have to say we were much more. We had a vision how should look, how should act, and how, what should be the mechanics in the game. But because always it's time challenging, then some of them we said okay, we will put in the further chapters. So for that reason we just said okay, let's go find the guy who will make a 3D character he made based on our vision. Then we put that in the story. So we found a voice acting who we want to be there. One guy from US, and actually he did great job. And at the end we decided that okay, we will not put too much mechanics in the character, because that is very connected with the gaming itself, with the game mechanics, and that spent us time. So for that reason, because we didn't go so deep in this character, for example, to move his eyes or to talk there, etc. So we decided to not go with those mechanics, and that give us some time actually to release our game earlier than we thought.
All right. I think the next question is a little bit going forward with this former one. So, do you have any advice on how to create 3D art? How do I get started?
I guess I could take that one too. First off, creating 3D art. My advice, if you're just getting started, would be to look into programs such as Blender or other programs, other 3D programs. I recommend Blender just because it's free and there's a ton of community support, so it's super easy to get into. But I think just starting to 3D model things in general is the right move. There's a certain way to 3D model for games specifically that needs to be optimal and efficient for the game to run. But at first, just getting like basic 3D forms down and learning how to just observe objects, right? Even just like things around you, like, oh, I can see that light switch. How would I 3D model that light switch, right? And just taking those ideas from concept to realized 3D model and really honing that skill I think would be the best place to start. And as always, just YouTube and other resources. There are plenty of people all around willing to give good advice and help.
Well, from my point of view, I'm not competent, to discuss for the 3D art, because I'm more focused on the other thing from the business side and so on. For 3D art, actually, my partners, my media, are more relevant, the guys to discuss. But I'm a learner, and also with the first game, with the first chapter, and now how we are developing the second game, I'm learning a lot of. And 3D art is not simple job. So because at the end you will have a lot of objectives in your game, a lot of your performance will go down. So 3D art is also really challenging, and that is our first mistake that we made in the first chapter. So our models were not optimized. they're very horrible in the performance side of view, and I can say, it's not all 3D art for the game. So it have to be also great creative, great design, great optimized. But more about the optimization and all those things, I'm not competent. So only my partners can say about that. That is our experience about 3D art.
I think I also, just to talk on that, I think I experienced some of that as well, with just like knowing the scope of your game, and then with like Bunny Hill for me specifically, that's like I kept the scope relatively small so I could afford to push optimizations in certain areas. Like, oh, I need the terrain to be like to have more polygons so that the character can collide more smoothly with it, right? If it's all about skiing, I need to focus all my optimizations on those aspects. And then I can say, oh, I need to make the characters less polygons, or the textures lower res, so that I can really like push my performance just to what really makes the game specifically it, right? What really pushes the gameplay further. So yeah.
Do you, Jeppe, have anything on this? Or?
No, I think Riste and Brendan covered it quite well.
All right, then let's take a question that we actually just got in the chat. As a one-man team, what was the biggest obstacle when developing your game that you didn't expect to run into? Do you plan on sticking to a specific genre for future games? I guess this one is sort of directed to you, Brendan.
I guess as a single person, I would say, I think like Riste was saying, I guess with any game development, it's just a really tough job in terms of just the bulk of things that you have to know to do it all. I think that's sort of like any game, any size team, it's always going to be a challenge. But I think being by myself specifically was just motivation. It's hard to see a project through to the end. And I think just staying motivated by working on it in smaller increments every day, or really just pushing for the end goal, keeping that end goal in sight, is really important. So the biggest obstacle is definitely just motivation, because you're super, super interested at the beginning, and then as it goes on, you fall out, and you sort of get more interested in different areas and disassociated with things you've made in the past on the game and all sorts of things like that. But just sticking through to the end goal is important. And then I guess for a specific genre for future games, I really plan on branching out. I think I would like to just do more like with game jams and stuff like that. You can really experiment with gameplay and different ideas when it comes to how the game is put together. I think that keeping that sort of experimentation in my mind when I pursue more projects is really important to me.
And very important is to start with something small, because for example we made that mistake that we had a huge story, etc. So for that reason we needed to split in multiple chapters. But it's very important to start with something very small, and to avoid making changes all the time. I mean, changes in your scope. So start with something small and try to finish that, and just try to release. Doesn't matter if it's for money or no, just release, take your that feedback, and then go on the next project. Because if you stuck on something big, you can work a few years, and at the end, like any other industry, and gaming industry is very fast industry, and the things are changing, the generation are changing. So for example, now they more like first-person shooters. Maybe in some other time you'll like more puzzles or whatever. So just be start with something small and try to finish that.
Yeah, and I think even though we weren't a one-man team to start with, we were a two-man team. I think the biggest obstacle was constantly trying to navigate the situation we were in. It was like, I would say, even weekly, we were like changing or adapting like the strategy, because we were very focused on, okay, we have business possibilities here. Where can we get some funding? Or what can we look for? And now we're going to talk with this potential investor or publisher, and constantly adapting to that situation. It was on the one side something we knew, but really experiencing it for the first time was like, okay, we're quite experienced, the both of us, so we knew that doing this together, and that's why it's been with such a strong team, is that, okay, we are realistic about it, and we just need to take things as they come. But even knowing that, it's just being in that and getting a lot of positive feedback and different positive feedback to find out, okay, should we do this and that? And if you do this for this publisher, then they end up saying no still. And then you moved away from the other publisher. It's really hard to navigate and like making decisions and that hopefully brings you forward. But I think to keep like an open mind and being able to find out, to keep acting in this is very important. Like, I think one thing we did right was really like setting short-term goals, knowing, okay, then we do this, then we do this, then always keep the vision ahead, but finding out, okay, the big vision is not in 2 years, there's something happening in 2 weeks actually, then we're in a new place that puts us in a new and better position. Yeah.
All right, thank you. This next one is a big question. So, what is the basic structure for developing a game? It's very broad.
I think there's many. We have the one-man army, we have the two-man army, and we have the team army. I think all present here today. You can say for making games, you need the graphics, you need the code, you need the business. That's the 3 legs. And then you can enhance on it. Do I need 2D? Do I need 3D? Do I need UI art? Of course, you need game design, but sometimes it's a mix of people doing that. But I think code and art and business, that would be the 3 legs if I should sum it up shortly.
I agree with that. And I think for generally any game specifically, I would think just in terms of game design, I think it would be like thinking about the core gameplay, like sort of loop that the player experiences, and that would just be like what are the player's goals, what are the obstacles that they have to combat to reach those goals, and that's like, or what are they against, right? If it's other players in a local multiplayer game, or it's the boss enemies, or in a single player game, things like that. Those are just challenges. So I think like any game could be broken down into those sort of elements, like challenge and goal, and sort of engineering that is more specific to the game design side. But I think that's sort of like the foundation that then you start like coding mechanics and putting art and developing story on top of, and all of those things are equally important. But I think that sort of lies. It fits in there with the rest of them.
Yeah, at the beginning you will think that you will know what are basic structure, and you can say this, that, and those 3 things. But when you start to develop, actually, you will see that there is a lot of stuff that you never thought about them, and you need to put energy there. So the best way is just to got engaged with the gaming development, start from somewhere, and after that, in natural way, will come actually where you need to focus. But it's huge range of things, and it's not only actually that we that we did. We thought that, okay, we are developers, let's sit down and develop the game, right? But it's not like that. Art, marketing, business side, developing mechanics, thinking about storytelling, voice acting. So it's huge. So the best advice is start as soon as possible, and how you are finding those things, you need to start to be engaged with all those things.
You can say just for developing a game, you don't need the business. If it's just for your own sake, if it's for the learning purpose, and if you're a coder, you don't need graphics. You can do it with boxes.
Squares,
if you're a
yeah.
graphic artist, there's definitely some tools in Unity or GameMaker, whatever you choose, where you can put in art and just mess around with things. So that might be a way that you can make a game without all three legs. Just to say that it shouldn't hold you back and say, oh, I can't code, I can't do business. Well, you can still do a lot of things.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think even just to say, like, game jams in particular are a really good learning tool when it comes to like what Jeppe was describing. It's just because it with such a short time span, it keeps you responsible, and it keeps you like stripping your game down to the bare essentials, right? So it's like minimum viable product, and just what exactly does the game need to be with no fluff. And that really helps you learn, like, okay, if I were to ship a longer project and need to do all those things like voice acting and get someone to do the music and get someone to do the modeling, like how much would I be able to accomplish myself, and what is needed, and then what is further. And I think feedback plays a big part, which both of you guys have been saying a ton, but feedback plays a big part into developing your structure for developing a game too.
Perfect. Next one is for a little bit younger part of our viewers. If I want to work in the game industry, what should I study?
I can say, at least in Denmark, what I see are people who studied IT of some sort, programming skills. If that's your interest, then we have design schools of various sorts, where somebody specialized perhaps in animation, somebody do 2D arts, and do 3D arts. That's definitely design schools. To a lesser degree, I see business people like coming from a business school, coming into games, which could be needed at least for helping small indie companies. So I think it could be interesting to see more business people to have like this, how do we make a business out of digital media? But I think that would be, at least in Denmark, technical schools, design school, potentially business schools. I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those three legs that you were speaking of. Just it, like, I'm currently at a design school, so that's where I sit, and I think that's a pretty good place for opportunity. And I definitely think I think the coding, when it comes to mechanics and IT, that side is really integral to the game, because without that, it's more of just a picture or an animation or just a model. So I think that's a really good place to start too. It depends on what you like to do.
Yes, all parts are important, right? You can't say just coding or just 3D modeling, etc. But we forgot about the most important thing about the game design. So not game design like designing from 3D aspect or something like that, but more about designing the game from other aspect. About that is everything is there: storytelling, mechanics, and everything that is connected, to the game design. So if I back, in the past, and if I need to start my career in the gaming industry, I would go first and learn about game designer. So to be a game designer, to create great games, and to put all, because the game designer, all those parts, 3D coding, etc., will put together somehow, storytelling, etc. So if I back, I will go, in the school where I will learn game design.
All right. The next question is something that I also need to learn. How do you manage your time? Go ahead.
This is the $1 million question, actually, because that you have to be how to say, you have to stay in your schedule. So you need to make a plan, and you have to go to that schedule. For example, as I said, if you have a primary job, then you have to be there 8 hours in your primary job, and don't change. Do not change that. Don't steal from your primary job and go and work for your project. Just finish your primary job. Then, if you just put how many hours you can per day spend in your game, how many hours you can spend in the weekends, and of course, don't forget about good balanced life. So also that is a very important from the business aspect. It's not only sitting and working, but you need to make a balance in your private life and everything that you are doing with your game and your primary job. And of course, maybe from the timing perspective, you will work longer on your project, but maybe one day, step by step, you can quit your primary job, and maybe your project, your occupation, gaming, will be primary job in your own company or something like that. But this is connected with the times I was saying that you need to think about long term and make a long term plan, but let's be in that plan and manage your time the best that you think, and try to not go out from that plan as much you can.
Yeah, what I think I've been better to find out how I spend my time over the years. Part of it is getting kids, because then there are just times through the day that I cannot work. So when I work, I'm actually more efficient. And what helped me was before, I knew what I was going to do, and then I went and did that. But now I actually keep a list, even to the smallest things, like send mail to someone, even though it's just a short mail, and then have a list. I use a site called To-Do List, and then I just mark things off. Okay, now this is done. Next thing. This is done. Next thing, and that actually speeds up my process. And because sometimes I have to take a few hours in the evening, I plan for that. But when I worked through this, I found out, okay, it only took half an hour. But if I was trying to find my way, it just takes too much time. So I would recommend a list. And to me, it doesn't work to say from 8 to 10 I should do this and that. I learned to feel, okay, now I have the time to do it. Now I have the extra energy, and then I do it. And then I'm good at keeping deadlines, so I always make it. So if it's done between 8 and 10 or whenever, it's not that important. I just keep the list and go through the list.
Yeah, I think both of you guys sort of nailed that. And I think just maybe more specifically, I think you would all agree, more specifically to game creation and time management is not only having that schedule, but you have to be strict with your schedule, but you also know like scope wise, you're always gonna like you're always gonna overshoot your schedule by a little bit. You know, you're always gonna have extra things to do, and there are going to be problems that sort of throw a wrench in the schedule, but it's not a bad thing. Just readjust and not, you know, keep your strict goals in mind, and try to work with it, and don't readjust too much, you know, because then you'll just constantly be pushing forward. But yeah.
Yeah, that I wanted to say, Brandon, actually, you know, not to put 2 liters in the bottle from 1 liter. Not, you know,
Yeah.
don't try to put 2 liters in something that can't handle that, not 2 liters. So just manage on that way your time, actually.
You're muted, Matthias.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a funny one that just came in the chat. Does playing a lot of games help you create your own?
From my experience, for example, I didn't play the game last, let's say, maybe 15 years, but now I'm making games. I mean, my company is making games. So if you have a good story, good vision about your game, if you have you know, good way how to put all things together, I think of course experience in the, you know, playing games will help, of course, but it's not you know, essential, you know, that you need to play games if you want to be a game developer. But of course it's helped a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think personally as well, I can say I played more games before I started making them. And after you start, you just sort of fall off. It's fun to return to and play some more just to get a new, fresh sort of inspiration and motivation. But also, yeah, I think just playing games, it definitely makes you motivated to make your own. And I think that it also sort of puts you in the conversation when it comes to what games are capable of, or what games sort of exist as, and how you can push past that or take from as inspiration, or even just certain things that are like, oh, a lot of games do this because it really works, and I should pay attention to that so I can, you know, not make a similar mistake, or sort of use it as a working off point instead of like a law. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I use games in 2 ways, because sometimes inspiration for games we do, especially the more innovative ones, they don't come when we try to work hard on the idea. Then it's like taking a walk on a Sunday, and then oh, I got this idea. Perhaps you could do something like this. And I use games the same way. Sometimes it's for leisure time and just exploring the field, and then, oh, this feels nice, and something about that might inspire something. But most often the inspiration comes when I work more methodically with the games. So for the door, for instance, we played a lot of puzzle games to find out, okay, what works and what doesn't, and okay, this works quite fine. Then sort of it being an analytical thing, playing the game, which is really great too. It's just a different way of playing games, and I really like to analyze and understand the mechanics. And then you find out, okay, this little mechanic, that's something weird. Perhaps we could take that and do better and replace it in a new context. I think since I started making games, I didn't play for longer, because all of a sudden I had to work with games. But I played a lot of more different games because I want to. I think just before Christmas, I have a few mobile games I played a lot, because it's just great to play those games. I'm not learning anything from them anymore. And then I deleted those and just took, okay, let's try all the weird indie games, downloading and playing, and then just see what it is. Some I only play for 20 minutes, half an hour, but it was great to play this, like just to, wow, that's a new way of doing things. And in a year or two, perhaps it comes back to me. So I think it's good to have like a catalog of. The good thing is I can say I have to do my research now, honey, and then I can download a bunch of games and play. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think to share a similar sort of experience, just to reinforce that, I think with Bunny Hill, it was originally I had the game with the camera reversed, so you could see yourself coming down the mountain, and it was sort of from like a bird's eye perspective, and that's just how I imagined it in my head, and it was sort of something maybe like a Flash game would have with a sort of similar setup. But as I was getting more feedback and testing and just sort of exploring the genre of racing games and that kind of thing, that's like a very, very typical genre with a very clear set of things set up for it, right? The camera behind the car, and so you can see how fast you're going, and you can see what's in front of you, so you can move around it. So things like that just become way more obvious when you're building the game, come from other games, and I think that was a good point you made.
All right. We have a couple of more questions for you before we end this today. Which engine do you use? Unity, Unreal, or other? I think some of you touched a little bit the subject already, but let's elaborate.
Yeah, so we are using Unity, but our experience when we started to try to make a choice, it's not because maybe it's better from Unreal or Unreal is better from Unity. We choose Unity only because the programming side for us was something that we have experience. So there is a C# code.NET and on Unreal is C++. Of course, there are a few plugins where you can code with drag and drop, etc. But we still want the old way when we have more control in our code, and that was the only reason why we choose Unity instead of Unreal. No other, we didn't go so deep what is better or with which one we can make the game faster, etc. So we just, as I've said previously, our starting point was where we are stronger, so we are stronger in the development, C#, so okay, let's go and pick that engine. That is our experience.
Yeah, Unity here as well. We make good benefit of like the cross-platform. Made it easy for us to port the door from mobile to PC. So that's great. And Unity is a Danish company, so we just knew it quite well.
Yeah, I got started using GameMaker Studio when I was younger because I got a free license when they ran an event when I was learning in high school, and moved around to Godot and Unity, and I've had some experience with Unreal. But for the game that I showed specifically, and most of those games that I showed were made in Unity, and Unity or Godot. And the only reason I use Godot is I think I'm just a sucker for open source for software, but I think all of them have their benefits, and Unity definitely, like you said, the cross-platform and the C# was something that I was familiar with as well. There's a huge community around. It's been a good engine. I think it's definitely a good place to start if you're looking to start, and then just it's really professional and you can make really polished projects.
All right, thank you so much. I think we are actually at the last question right now. I thought I was going to leave this for last because this is something where you can tell a little bit about what you're going to do the rest of the year. So what do you plan to get done in 2021?
Well, now we have, of course, we have some long vision. So not only for 21, but we have longer vision. But from our checkpoints that is shorter. So this year, we want to finish our second chapter, and the most important thing will be for us the results of the second chapter. So we want to see the feedback, and the next thing is also the first and the second chapter we want to release on Xbox and PlayStation. We are almost there. As I've said, we need now just not small, but for the first chapter, especially because the second chapter we are already doing optimization, and the guys from Kamai Media is doing great optimization from that side, from the texturing, from the polygons, etc. So I have no doubts that we will have or lighting as well. So the lighting, for example, in the first chapter, all is real time, but in the second chapter we have baked light and we are using few dynamic that it's really increasing our performance. So our goal is to release the second chapter and the first and the second chapter to be released on Xbox and PlayStation. If we did this year this plan, then we will be great.
I think for me, my plans for 2021 are graduating. It's sort of transitionary period for me. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I think before that, I mean, within January, I put together a little update for my game and I released it. So that was like on my list. And then I think for the rest of school, I'm looking to try to produce an app by myself in a very short time span with a small scope. So that'll be interesting. Just trying to experiment before I get out of school and into the real world where there are maybe more consequences for taking time to do small projects like that. And then, yeah, just looking for a job and going wherever that takes me. So that's all for me.
Yeah, cool. I hope to plan to start running again in this Corona time. Been too much inside.
It's a good one.
I should start painting. But for the company, we sort of have two tracks. We have the project as a soul, where we have the business side going, where we're looking for investments, and we have a new project starting next month, where we do like a co-op multiplayer game within the framework we got. So it's a bit of working on the business side and keep development going, and we really plan to land some money and finish the door and continue moving forward with AR blocks to complete like the vision for both games. Yeah, plan, fulfill vision.
All right, that sounds awesome. That was sort of it for today, and I would really like to thank, on behalf of the GDWC, all our guests today. There was some really interesting material today, really good talks here. And also I would like to thank Oulu Kaupungin Kirjasto for this, for working together on this project. And also I would like to thank all the people that sent in questions and all the viewers. And remember to subscribe to the GDWC Twitch channel, and we'll see you on the next talks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe.